We've been talking about agriculture now for 2-3 more days straight because it's a very pressing issue. So here's the latest. Now, in order to educate farmers on the most effective farming techniques for various crops, federal government of Nigeria has stated that it's developing a web application. So in an interview, Aliyu Asabi Abdullahi, who's the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, claimed that the low number of farmers in the nation compared to extension agents is the reason behind the app's implementation. The minister reassured the people of Nigeria that the federal government's many initiatives and interventions will cause commodity prices to fall shortly. Also, along those lines, Nigeria's Federal Executive Council has approved the purchase of 1,200 tractor trailers, 4,000 disc plows, 2,000 tractors, among other pieces of equipment, under the National Agricultural Mechanization Program, NAMP. So it stated, of course, that President Bola Tinubu's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy posted it on his X or Twitter account, summarizing the conclusions of the Federal Executive Council meeting that took place in Abuja. So according to officials, one of the companies will also intend to set up assembly plans for most of the equipment in the nation. So that's a very interesting point, but there's going to be supplying those machines initially. So Jinmi Ajayi is the founder of Feedup Africa. He's a player in the agriculture sector. He joins us to discuss this extensively. Jimmy, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Reuters. Thanks for having me.
Macro view, starting with the web application. What do you make of it? What do you think of it?
I mean, it's a new dispensation, and people. Public officials will be looking for quick wins. So, there's really nothing wrong with it. But then, how many farmers is it going to capture?
Right.
And then, what measures were put in place before selecting these farmers that are going to be giving? Exposing to the web application. However, let's not forget that we have about 200 million active mobile phones in Nigeria.
Okay.
But then smartphones is just about 40 million smartphones in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Then how many smallholder farmers have access to phones, not to talk about smartphones?
Right.
You understand? So, it's going to take us some time to understand how many people will get access to this web application and then the efficiency or efficacy of it. What's
the education level of the average subsistence farmer in your view?
We have a lot of young people, a lot of people going into agriculture, backyard farming, very small holding, smallholder farming, as it were. But then, let's just say about secondary school and some tertiary institution as well.
Yeah. So I don't know what you guys do at Feedup Africa if you are a supply-oriented organization, but where does education play, educating farmers or anything at all, updating them on best practices? What do you guys do?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Feedup Africa is actually an organization set up to combat food insecurity on the African continent.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
We're facing that right now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we've done sensitization programs. We've had programs on nutrition. Food production for farmers, sensitization programs for farmers as well. And most importantly, let's not forget that when talking about food insecurity, we can't sit on the macro level. It has to go to the micro level, to the people at the bottom of the pyramid. By saying that we're talking about various households in the country or in the society. So apart from the fact that we need to produce food for the people, food security is not completely hinged on supporting farmers only. Because when you go to the hinterland in our rural areas, not all of them are into farming. Majority of them go into agriculture one way or the other, rearing of chickens, goats, and all those sort of things. However, we still have some of them who maybe, someone who digs well in the community. That person also needs some form of support or intervention.
Yeah.
So Feedup Africa is also open to various forms of partnership. For example, in fact, I brought one gift for you today because we just went into partnership with a local manufacturer. This guy manufactures ceramic stove. And then it's ceramic stove, FAO graded ceramic stove.
Okay.
The global standard is tier 4, but this guy even took his own
a notch
higher. 100% locally manufactured in Nigeria.
So, okay. If that's the case, How does something like that scale across the country? Let's apply that this to the web application. There are so many farmers, and I don't want to get into this population thing again because people start saying I want to do the Thanos thing and halve the population of Nigeria. But there's just so many mouths to feed, many states. If you're saying to disaggregate this, is it at the state level, local government level? How do we scale this stove guy now across, or any other thing just to address the issue of food supply in Nigeria?
Yes, I mean, the effort this current administration is making is very encouraging. I mean, the distribution of grains to across all the states in the country.
What, the rice?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, some people are criticizing that, saying it's not enough.
People will always criticize, but then when you consider the fact that these guys are at the strategic level, and also it's a new administration, they're looking for quick wins. So I mean, the country is getting to a level where it's almost becoming tense because people are hungry. People even knock on your windows in traffic and beg for water. Before, if you gave people water, they'll look at you like, okay, I can buy water.
Excellent point.
Do you understand?
I actually experienced that on the streets.
Exactly.
A guy came up to me and said I should buy him pure water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that tells you that, and then we're talking about Lagos, Abuja, urban cities.
Right.
About a decade ago, you see stuff like that in our hinterland, but now it's crept into our cities.
Right.
So that goes to show that we can't rely only on what public officials are doing. Individuals also need to come up with some form of support, one way or the other.
Okay, former President Buhari used to say that everybody should go to the farms, go to the farms, go to the farms, go to the farms, go to the farms. Are enough? Do you see enough young people getting into farming in Nigeria?
I suspect that one of the reasons behind this web application for farmers is to perhaps encourage younger people into agriculture. However, it's a good idea, but for me, I would rather we gave enough support to existing farmers. Support them in terms of infrastructural development, accessibility to their farms. Do they have access to irrigation during lean seasons? You understand? And also, can we find a way of aggregating all our farms? For example, the previous question where you talked about federal, state, and local government.
Yeah.
We cannot do anything in isolation. Of course, there will be cases where maybe a local government will probably see a gap and then fill the gap without consultation. If it's perhaps depending on the level or the scale, but to have a robust program in terms of tackling food insecurity, it has to be a multi-sectoral approach.
So we can't just keep turning to government, federal government all the time.
It will never work. It will never work.
Right.
No.
What do you make of the procurement of the 2,000 tractor plows, the 4,000 tractors, and all the other machines?
Again, I would say it's also perhaps for quick wins because, almost every administration has purchased one equipment or the other. The previous equipment, all the past equipment we have, what happened to them? Do we have enough capacity or technical capacity to maintain them or to bring them back into, functionality? Instead of having to spend so much money and buying new equipment. So 8 years down the line, what's going to happen to this to this 2,000 that is being bought?
Well, you just mentioned something pretty key. I think you've preempted my next question. Again, I keep thinking about subsistence farmers. These are the folks who are just trying to feed themselves. Is there enough of the expertise to operate these machines?
I don't think farmers really need tractors because what's the size of an average farm in Nigeria?
Right.
Do you get? So that's why for me, I advocate for clusters. So let's say a local government, for example, is able to aggregate all their farmers and they realize that there are 20 farms. And mind you, some of these farms are close to themselves. They are not always far away. And then ensure that there is accessibility into these farms. Ensure that the roads are accessible and create an environment where entrepreneurs can purchase tractors or some of this equipment and rent out to these farmers. The farmers during planting season can come together in a sort of cooperative. So that way brings down the cost. So again, it also speaks to the fact that we really don't need too many people going into agriculture. Let's just expand the capacity of the existing farmers.
I like that idea. Wait, explain the clusters. If that would mean that if you and I are neighbors, or we're in a local government area, let's use this Arise television logo here. This is a farmland. Instead of you getting a tractor and then plowing land in your space and me doing the same thing, they would basically merge them together, and then you and I would farm in the same
and then
plot.
we share. No, not necessarily farm the same plot, but because they are close to each other, it reduces the cost.
Right, but then, you and I would, okay, so I can't infringe on your parts, right? So as far as, but is the cluster divided? So is there a boundary between where you are farming and I'm farming?
No, so, okay, I guess you're talking about the separate arrangement where government gives people land to farm.
Yes.
Okay.
As opposed to is that same as the clusters or not?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
But then that could also work. We could also merge that into my own idea of saying, okay, I have my own land. I've bought my land, or perhaps I inherited my land from my great-grandfather in a remote area. And then another guy comes, buys maybe 5 acres or 10 acres.
Okay.
We are close by.
Right.
You understand? Even if we end up planting the same produce or the same
crop or whatever.
Crops, thank you very much. The same crops. But we can bring down our cost by sharing.
Makes sense.
Exactly.
But then what if you and I don't like each other? What about the whole community issues and stuff like that, the relations? I guess we have to be mature adults to make sure we're getting along.
We don't have to like each other, but we're talking about making money. Getting results out of our businesses. So,
can you see a day when we're, like your guy with the stove, when we're manufacturing high-level machinery for farming in Nigeria?
It's not impossible. I mean, I heard your introduction to this program where you talked about some people, I can't remember the name of the organization anyways, but they're going to be assembling in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, it's going to create jobs. We have the likes of Yaba Tech where they try to, some of their graduates are actually very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are very good. So imagine people going through those programs and then ending up in places like that.
You see, whenever anybody says Nigeria has incredibly talented youth coming out of the Yaba Techs and all these other education facilities, I always think about the Japa thing, because if they're talented, they're likely to get poached by foreign entities. Are you working? Are you seeing that?
We can't do anything about it.
It is what it is.
Unfortunately, people would leave. People have the right to leave.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they have the
right
to leave.
So what's the solution?
We just have to continue to improve on what we have here,
and
also create the environment conducive enough for people to stay.
You've seen the food inflation numbers, over 40% year on year. Even month on month has gone up. The price issue. Is it supply? Are we still circling back to our initial conversation on how to bring down food prices by trying to grow more food or imports? Well, the government wants to import, actually, right? They want to import in the short term. There's been some pushback from Jinmi Ajayi, president of the AFDB, the head of the Lagos chapter of the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, and so on and so forth. So what do you make of that measure to try to remove duties on imports on certain food commodities in the short term?
But thank you very much. It's for emphasizing that it's a very short time frame. Yeah. But then what the AFDB president said is actually very valid. Yeah. I agree with him, but at the same time, two truths can exist.
Okay.
I agree with him, but the truth is we need to feed our people.
Right.
We need to bring down food prices, or else we don't know what's going to happen in a few weeks or in a few months' time.
Yeah.
Yes, farmers have invested money into producing and all, but the most important move to make is to ensure that we are able to feed our people. Okay. So if they're bringing in grains for a short period of time to reduce prices, a crate of egg is about 6,000 naira.
It is,
and we are talking about proteins.
I used to buy eggs for under 800 naira for
a crate, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So a crate of egg should not be up to that.
Okay, but then, see, we could talk about this for 2 hours. But then it's like, okay, let's get more chickens then, right? But then the cost of a chicken now.
Layers feed is about 16,000 naira.
Right, and it's
for
maize and so on that's getting into that. Yeah. So it's all an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I've been asked. Is Nigeria's population any issue there? That people having too many babies, too many. I'm sorry, I always bring this up, but maybe it's too late. But I bring this up every single time with every guest. Some of these farmers, Jimmy, have 7 or 8 children, all right? I don't know how a subsistence farmer, as you just talked about, with a tiny plot of land, can have a football team as kids, and he expects to be able to feed all of them. Shouldn't there be some type of, can we bring back the family planning? Why are you laughing? This is a serious, the family planning programs like there was. I'm an 80s baby. I remember when I was growing up, there were clinics, they had family planning stuff, there were signs, and I wasn't mentioning a competitor. Other public television ads were all over the place. Is that, am I the only one doing this, or is that the concern to you at all?
I mean, in the olden days, farmers would need
lots of children
to help them on the farms. So maybe that's what some of them are considering.
So you don't think the kids issue is it? So supply. I'm looking at demand. So you're thinking, okay, you're an agri guy, so you will still stick by supply, improve the supply,
improve production, make production efficient,
right,
and effective, and also very importantly, ensure that farmers also go back home smiling, because farmers are not meant to be poor. I mean, once we're able to break the bond of poverty on farmers, then we can actually become food secure.
Well, that means that they should be adequately paid for their produce then. Or,
yeah.
Well, then doesn't that mean higher prices?
They are human beings as well.
I say that about
human beings.
You know what? I say that about oil marketers, and everybody wants to demonize me when we start talking about fuel subsidies. I don't want to go there, but you're saying that they should be adequately compensated for
exactly.
For what they produce.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you seeing enough young, again, I'm repeating the question, there are enough young people going into farming? Young millennials or maybe Gen Zs?
People my generation, a lot of them. I mean, I have young people who come to me and tell me they want to farm and all those kind of things. And I try to let them know that, look, farming is very expensive. It's not cheap going into agriculture. Just leasing of land, clearing of land, I mean, it takes a toll. And then, no matter the level at which you operate, you still need to ensure that there's limited pilferage.
Right.
That's also a huge factor in it.
Because if not, I have to be on the farm 24/7 up, and it's stressful. I got other things I got to do.
Exactly.
Jinmi Ajayi, fantastic conversation. We've got to have you back, because this is, I think we'll have another agricultural conversation tomorrow with another guest. Who knows? This is the most pressing thing. We got to feed people. We got to get the supplies. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you very much for
excellent work you're doing at Feedup Africa. Jinmi Ajayi, thank you so much.